Wow, guys, just wow. Wait until you get a load of the stimulus news today, guys. Your fourth stimulus check update and daily news update. Big topic today, the debt ceiling fight between the Democrats and the Republicans. What's everyone saying and why this could mean disaster for Social Security, veterans benefits, credit cards, and mortgages. Oh, and don't forget about how this further boosts the odds of a 20% stock market crash. Definitely scary news happening. And lastly, we have Biden's meeting with the UN. How does this lead to more stimulus? Find out more in today's video. Stimulus always hot and fresh right on the Ron Yates channel. Your number one source for the latest, most accurate updates on stimulus, the US economy, stock market updates, and all the money-making tips and tricks that you guys can handle. It's all about the cash money right here on this channel. So definitely join the family, hit the subscribe button, and tap the notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any future videos and updates. And hey guys, I just want to thank you so much for always lighting up the like button. It really makes me feel good to feel the support, the love and support from you guys out there each and every single day. I cannot thank you guys enough. All right guys, so let's jump in. So the debt ceiling drama is still going on in Congress. Democrats are blaming the Republicans and Republicans are blaming Democrats. Yeah, right. No surprise here, right? But still, this is going to be a make or break moment for us and stimulus. So let's take a quick look. Now here's what Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said.
Question.
On the debt ceiling, the easy to me to put this with this CR and vote Republicans blink. I think that's right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what's plan B if
Well, let me just say again, I'd like every single Republican senator to answer the question, are they willing to let the government default? As to the plans, we are working. There are a number of different options. The White House, Speaker Pelosi, myself are discussing those. And we believe that we must do this. We believe it's an imperative to do it. And Leader McConnell, as I said, is playing dangerous political games by not stepping up to the plate as he asked us to do, and we did when Trump was president. Yes, next. It's hard to, well, I think that statement speaks so negatively for it. And we believe we have to renew the debt ceiling, and we are going to move forward and get it done. And we believe it will ultimately be done in a bipartisan way. And I think the whole country, including many very conservative elements in the business and finance communities, will be appalled we get so close to the deadline that Leader McConnell is risking the full faith and credit of the country. Yes, Bolton. Look, again, we are discussing all of the options with the president and with Speaker Pelosi. Yes, orange dress. I believe our full caucus supports immigration reform. Absolutely. Next.
And we're already seeing some of those options at play in Congress. What they're planning to do is include a suspension of the U.S. debt ceiling in a spending bill needed to keep the government open past the end of the month. Specifically, the debt ceiling would be suspended through December 2022, meaning that they're going to push the battle past the midterm congressional. The stopgap funding bill would last through December 3rd, 2021, setting up another fight to keep the government operating at the end of this year. So it looks like they're kicking the can down the road and just keeping their powder dry for another very heated end of the year. Now the question is, will this make things better? Well, it'll at least give them more time to strategize. As House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said in a joint statement, this week the House of Representatives will pass legislation to fund the government through December of this year to avoid needless government shutdown that would harm American families and our economic recovery before the September 30th deadline. The legislation to avoid the government shutdown will also include a suspension of the debt limit through December 2022. So why are we following the story exactly is probably your question, right? Because a lot of scary stuff could happen to us if the ceiling isn't raised and the government ends up defaulting. This federal debt limit is a legal cap on how much debt the U.S. can take on to pay obligations already approved by the president and Congress for several years. Raising the ceiling doesn't really erase the debt that we already have. It also doesn't create any new debt like what some other people want you to believe. Basically what it does is it gives the federal government more room to be able to pay off its bills. And if we don't get that, the worst case scenario is that many Americans might not get their Social Security payments and veterans benefits, while federal workers might not get paid. There could also be an increase to people's borrowing costs like credit cards, car loans, and mortgage rates. We definitely do not want any of that, guys. But Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told Congress leaders that all their cash and extraordinary measures would be exhausted in October, just a few weeks from now. She said in her letter, a delay that calls into question the federal government's ability to meet all of its obligations would likely cause irreparable damage to the U.S. economy and global financial markets at a time when American families, communities, and businesses are still suffering from the effects of the ongoing global, it would be particularly irresponsible to put the full faith and the credit of the United States at risk. So this stopgap bill is really going to help with that, or at least it's believed that this is going to help with it. Now, as President Biden said, this is a bipartisan responsibility, just as it was under my predecessor. Blocking it would be inexcusable. President Biden dropped a tweet the other day. He said, "I applaud this plan from at Speaker Pelosi and at Senator Schumer to keep the government open, provide disaster relief, and avoid catastrophic default. This is a bipartisan responsibility, just as it was under my predecessor. Blocking it would be inexcusable." But the Republicans are not having any of that.
I think all Republican senators, we're going to stand together. We're going to say, we're not going to raise taxes. We're not going to raise the debt ceiling in July unless we get structural reform.
Republicans willing to vote against raising the debt ceiling and risking?
Republicans will easily be willing to vote against waste. And what I've seen in this new majority is a lot of that.
We should get something for further mortgage our kids' future. I'm afraid Democrats just could care less.
If they want to run up $30 trillion worth of debt that we've got to pay back, by the way, if they want to do this, then let them figure that out. Let them vote to raise the debt limit. That's on them.
I don't think there's any appetite among our members to vote for a big increase in the debt limit when they're in the process of adding so much to the debt. I don't think any final decisions have been made about how that might be handled on but I'm just telling you, as a matter of principle, I don't think there's a single Republican senator who views increasing the debt limit so the Democrats can expand government and spend massive amounts of money is something that they in the end would want to support.
46 Republicans have signed a letter saying they will oppose the Democratic plan to pass a new suspension of the debt limit tagged onto a bill to keep federal agencies functioning past September 30th deadline. Now, to be honest with you guys, this has been the story for a long time now. When Democrats were in power, they would vote against raising the debt limit and blame the Republican president for not doing more to keep the debt in check. Now, Republicans are doing the exact same to the Democrats. It's just a blame game. Just take a look at what Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said.
If the Democrats put in a debt limit increase CR at the end of the month, would Republicans defeat that CR? Yeah, let me be crystal clear about this. Republicans are united in opposition to raising the debt ceiling, not because it doesn't need to be done. So I want to make sure everybody clearly understands this. The last time the debt ceiling was raised, it was done on a bipartisan basis in conjunction with an overall caps agreement, and that debt ceiling increase covers basically what we did last year. This year is unique, and as you all know, I've been here a while. I've never seen such an effort to expand the reach of the federal government like we've been confronted with this year through not just one reconciliation process, but apparently yet another. So if they want to do all of this on a partisan basis, they have the ability to ensure that the federal government not default, and they will have to take care of that.
What McConnell is saying here is that the Democratic majority alone are responsible for safeguarding the government's creditworthiness and preventing a potential economic calamity. Yes, I say calamity. But the problem is that was never the rule in the first place. In fact, almost every time the debt ceiling has been lifted, it has been done in bipartisan fashion under the regular Senate order that just requires at least 60 votes to be able to end debate on the legislation. Now, if you guys ask me, Mitch McConnell, he just wants to keep Republican hands clean of all this new spending in advance of the 2022 midterm. Typical Mitch, right? But these guys are all about strategy. I mean, this is what I'm seeing. And just so that we're clear here, all the stimulus the Republicans are currently saying no to include the IRS child tax credit. This is the $250 to $300 monthly stimulus check payments that parents and guardians are receiving per child to be extended until 2025. They're also saying no to the earned income tax credit, which is $538 for individuals with no children and higher for people with children. Under the $3.5 trillion bill, this would become a permanent thing. Child care and dependent care tax credit, $4,000 to $8,000. That's a tax credit for the care of qualifying persons. That means your children or other dependents. That would be permanent as well. Vehicle tax. So let's just say you've got a Neo or you've got a Tesla, or maybe you've got the new Ford F-150 pickup. That would be a $7,500 federal tax credit for certain alternative energy vehicles. Couple this with your local EV incentives and company offers. California offers the most support for EV buyers. Residents can qualify for up to $7,000 in state incentives through the state's clean vehicle rebate. Some companies also give vehicle incentives. The Omaha Public District, for instance, it offers a $2,500 rebate to customers who purchase a new EV and home charging station. Trade adjustment assistance programs. Investments in these programs provide financial support and workforce development services to people who have lost their jobs as a result of trade. The committee boosted benefits and expanded eligibility, for instance. Medicare expansion. Vision and hearing benefits to the older population in 2022 and 2023 respectively, while dental benefits wouldn't begin until 2028. Healthcare Worker Grant Program. This is funding for the Health Profession Opportunity Grant, which provides grants to fund training and education for professions in healthcare. Elder Justice. This is protections for seniors and those with disability from abuse. Nursing home data staffing reform. This is funding to the Department of Health and Human Services, including to manage validation of nursing home data and conduct studies on staff to resident ratios in nursing homes. So like Senator Bernie Sanders said before, what would you have us cut here? Plus, here's a real interesting clip from Mitch McConnell.
Senate Republicans would support a clean, continuing resolution that includes appropriate disaster relief and targeted Afghan assistance. We will not support legislation that raises the debt limit. Remember, when the debt suspension lapsed in August, the debt limit was automatically ratcheted up to account for all the borrowing that had occurred up to that date. This isn't about the past, it's about the future. And Democrats want to build a partisan future without our. So Democrats will not get bipartisan facilitators for their purely partisan spending binge.
You heard them, guys. They're good with disaster relief and helping the Afghans, but not stimulus for us Americans. Now, I'm not so sure about that one. But what do you guys think about that? Is it okay to let the Americans suffer while we just funnel billions of dollars overseas? Drop me a quick comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about this debt ceiling fight. Now, we're already seeing the effects of this as Wall Street is feeling the pain of the debt ceiling fight and some other global news. Both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ logged their worst performance since May, while the Dow Jones logged its worst day since July. Now, like I shared with you guys earlier, this debt ceiling fight isn't helping investor sentiment, and they're already seeing that now. Now, on top of that, the global economy could feel the effects of China's Evergrande crisis. But here's what you should know.
The company Evergrande is really a household name here. It is the second largest property developer, and it owes $300 billion in liabilities to various creditors. Now, the company has been expanding very quickly into different areas. It also has been warning recently about cross-default risks as well as a potential decline in property sales, trying to really raise funds to pay back a lot of those creditors, but not quite able to. Now, we are going to find out very soon whether or not Evergrande is going to be able to avoid defaults. There are four things that we are watching at this point. Is the interest payment deadline that is coming this week for its bank loans as well as some of its bonds, and then is there going to be restructuring? Another question that people are watching is whether or not we're going to see some sort of rescue plan. The government has already been signaling that it's not interested in a direct bailout, but Chinese media tonight have been reporting that one of its competitors, Country Garden, which is the largest property developer here, has been talking to the media, saying that it's possible that it might be interested in buying some of its assets. Third, we are watching to see whether or not there's going to be central bank action. There's an expectation that the People's Bank of China is going to come in to more liquidity to avoid a credit freeze. And finally, the markets are going to be resuming action on Wednesday. Today, here, Monday, as well as Tuesday. Both of them are holidays. So we're going to get a sense as to how investors here feel and how bankers feel here on Wednesday when the markets open up again.
Eunice, I guess one thought from here in the US is that if the worst comes to the worst for Evergrande and perhaps the rest of the property sector, is that Beijing will step in and make sure there's not a kind of massive catastrophe for the markets. Has the likelihood of that changed at all over the last 6 to 12 months as Beijing has clamped down more on the excesses of capitalism? Does it make it politically harder for them to now step in and bail out one of the big parts of the capitalist part of the economy over there?
Yeah, and that's what the signaling really has been, that the government does not want to be seen as endorsing what they see as excessive borrowing, especially in the private sector. So from what the remarks out of officials as well as from the state media has been that Evergrande is not too big to fail. At the same time, just in the past week or so, we have been seeing quite a few company staffers, investors, homeowners visiting Evergrande's offices around the country, demanding that they get their money money back, and that whole threat of a possible instability socially is something that really rubs the Communist Party the wrong way. So that is something that people are watching very closely here.
So basically, since the Chinese economy is so large, the problem could definitely cause a ripple effect across the globe, including the United States. And Morgan Stanley is already warning people that the odds of a 20% crash in stocks are rising. Scary news, huh? Comment down below if you've got a 401k, maybe you've got a pension, or maybe you've got an IRA. I'd love to hear from you guys, because anyone in the stock market would be potentially at risk, according to Morgan Stanley. So now the big question is, well, what should we do, right? Well, first off, you should definitely watch our stock market video on the impending crash. There we're going to talk about the probability of a crash, plus what to do before and after. We also give you that one sure stock winner that you should definitely pick up in case a crash happens. Now, I'm just kidding. We would never tell you exactly what stock to pick. That's always your choice. Always do your homework first. But I will let you know what I'm looking at. Make sure to catch the channel exclusive stock video coming very soon. Now, while you're waiting, we have a very special little surprise waiting for you guys in the pinned comment. It's our newsletter on the 20 proof ways to generate extra income today. Now, with the stock market crash bound to happen, it's best to be prepared for the worst. And in downturns like this, cash is king. Make sure to get yourself some by reading up on the best tips and strategies in our newsletter. It's right there in the pinned comment down below. Make sure to get your free copy today. All right, so now for our stimulus finale, President Biden's big speech to the UN General Assembly. Lots to talk about here, but we're going to focus mainly on the highlights that could bring us more stimulus. Mainly the White House's efforts to solidify new alliances in a bid to pivot its foreign policy toward taking on China, meaning they may be looking to team up to compete against China. But here's Biden talking about it before.
That we're not looking for confrontation, although we know there will be steep competition. Two, that we'll have strong competition, but we'll insist that China play by the international fair competition, fair practices, fair trade.
And to extend the idea of stimulus, let's talk about the House Representatives Mo Brooks' bill to force communist China to pay for America's trillions of dollars in losses. Now, if this pushes through, we can get some major stimulus going, and even better, you can get communist China to cover the bill. Now, according to Brooks, communist China must atone for its wrongdoing by compensating America and Americans for losses suffered as a result, regardless of whether China's conduct was negligent, reckless, or intentional. China knowingly created in the Wuhan Institute of Virology without implementing necessary containment measures needed to prevent from circling the globe and millions. Not only did China lie about origins, China also lied about covering up both the contagiousness and the lethality of the virus, while still allowing international travel, thus exporting a global. China's lies. My bill, the China Restitution Act, holds communist China accountable for their horrific actions and compensates American citizens and governments for the losses suffered at the hands of communist China. And he's already included the stimulus that he's planning to do with the deal, allowing individuals to be made whole from their injuries, including loss of earnings, medical expense loss, replacement services loss, and loss due to death. Financial services loss of American businesses caused reimbursement of all money spent from the federal government treasury fund to respond, and reimbursement of all financial losses of each state and locality resulting. It's basically, as they say, make your own stimulus. Now, as for the how, the bill plans to impose a 10% tariff on Chinese products coming into the United States and an increase of 10% per year until China's done paying the bill. Brooks also wants other countries to do the same for their losses. We could definitely see a development here with Biden's UN Assembly address this week. But what do you guys think? Should we be asking China to pay for the losses since it basically came from them? Drop me a quick comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking. Other stimulus proposals that we're looking into include Representative Rashida Tlaib's Automatic Boost to Communities, or ABC Act. This one's pretty straightforward. Every American gets a $2,000 fourth stimulus check up front, then $1,000 in recurring stimulus checks after that point for as long as 1 year. Now, Tlaib isn't giving up on this one. It's even her pinned tweet on her Twitter account, and you should really hear her talk about it with passion.
It's going to help our local economy. And it's going to give people human dignity because they get to decide, do I pay my water bill, my light bill? They get to decide if it goes towards their rent. And trust me, no one wants to be out on the street. So when we provide this money, it is going to go towards people's quality of life. We made a promise. We should. People wanted $2,000 checks. And now, I've been demanding from the beginning, it needs to be monthly, reoccurring, $2,000.
Another one is Representative Ilhan Omar's guaranteed income bill that would give monthly stimulus checks of $1,200 for adults and $600 for children. According to Rashida Tlaib's Twitter, she says poverty is a choice. It's time we prioritize new economic indicators and economic policies that will prioritize sustainable and equitable growth. Today, we're introducing two bills, a guaranteed income bill, and a bill to establish an alternative economic metric. And lastly, we have Representatives Pramila Jayapal and Barbara Lee's House resolution to end poverty. This is the big one, as it promises stimulus checks via cash assistance programs, a minimum wage increase, expanded unemployment insurance, canceling of all unpayable debt, affordable and public housing, and free education. Really, guys, if any of this passes through in the $3.5 trillion stimulus package, I would say that's a win. Look forward to more updates on this one, as well as your favorite stimulus programs, all in our next videos. This was your fourth stimulus check update, your daily news update, the debt ceiling, the fight between the Democrats and the Republicans, what's everyone saying, and why this could mean disaster for Social Security, veterans benefits, credit cards, and mortgages. Like we need a housing market crash. Oh, and don't forget about how this further boosts the odds of a 20% stock market crash. Biden's meeting with the UN and how it could lead to more stimulus for us. Hope you got your stimulus sweet spot hit today. I really appreciate the support, you guys, for hitting that like button. Thank you guys so much. I really hope that you guys appreciated the update that I've given you guys today. And if you haven't already, join the family, hit that subscribe button, and also tap the notification bell so you're notified as soon as I release new videos and updates. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.